Giovanni, you ever watch Lost?
Oh yeah, I'm a big Lost guy. Love it.
Great.
Oh,
Good.
all right. Well, here we go.
Great.
Are you gonna enjoy this?
Here
All
we
right.
go.
Previously on Unranked.
Yeah.
I have some concerns about you getting to that Alan Wake now.
Why is that? What do you got? What's on the docket?
Well, I mean, we'll talk about it, but they just announced God of War DLC coming out next week, and it's free, and something tells me you're going to be like, I need to play this.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably going to be the case. I mean, I can't lie. I cannot tell a lie on that. So, yeah, God of War probably takes precedent. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how long the God of War DLC is. If the God of War DLC is quick, then who knows?
Whoa,
So a little note there.
that animation was new to me. Did Chris use that last week?
No, I made it yesterday.
Just to note, I realized that I said there takes precedent, not
Right,
precedence.
right.
So I just want to make a note to myself
wanna
that
clarify.
that's not the correct.
Takes
Use-
precedent.
Yeah,
Takes the president.
takes precedent. I said precedent. Anyway, so
Here we
Just
are.
here we are.
Welcome to the 406th episode of the Unranked podcast. I'm Christian Humes. We have Alex Tuna Marinella,
Hello.
Tom Caswell.
Hello.
And returning to the show for the first time in season 4, you know him, you love him. It's Giovanni Colantonio.
Hey, it was so good to be back. It's been a hot minute. I think the last time I was here, we talked about Roman history, and then that became a meme at
did
some
become a
point
meme.
afterwards. So I'm happy to be back post
It did.
everyone understanding the joy of Rome.
What's funny
we had,
about
we had
that
a lot
is
of
that-
fun with that one.
Yeah, well, because Brittany asked me straight up, because she's TikTok, whatever, and she was like, "How often do you think about Rome?" And I was like, "Literally every day." So,
I mean, how would she not know that about you with
well,
how
she
many
did,
Rome
but
things
she
you have?
really didn't think that it was every day. And I'm
She
like,
didn't
no,
know like we knew, Chris.
like I really do think about it every single day. Like I
When
thought
that-
about it again today. I thought about it again today.
what brought it up today?
Today I was watching before I started watching For All Mankind.
I was watching Rome, the HBO.
Well, you're kind of close, because I was watching a YouTube video about this guy he was ripping apart all the inaccuracies of Gladiator. So I was like,
okay.
oh well, yeah.
That's
But he was
cool.
also
In like a
touching
good way,
upon-
right? Not like a CinemaSins way.
No, it's more historical.
Okay. All right.
It's the History Hit YouTube channel. It was with Dan Snow. He's very good. So he was not ripping apart, but he was talking about how Oscar Schindler isn't all that in a bag of chips. He was talking about the inaccuracies in Saving Private
What a
Ryan.
take. What a take.
Well, yeah, he was basically like, I mean, Oscar Schindler, started out horrible, dude. Kind of redeemed himself by the end,
Sure.
but not a great
Sure.
guy. Not all that in a bag of chips, Mr. Schindler.
Yeah.
So
I feel
Anyway.
like that's in the movie. It starts.
he says that it's not even it's way worse. The real story is way
Sure.
worse.
Sure.
Are we canceling Schindler right now?
We're
Is that what's
canceling
happening?
Schindler.
But listen,
Giovanni's
listen.
like, maybe I shouldn't have come on this show. Like, what the fuck,
Listen.
what the fuck is happening right now?
Well, Mr. Schindler is no longer with us, so
That's true. He can't be canceled.
we
He's
can't
already
be
been canceled.
You can't
Yeah.
cancel it. Once you're gone, you're done.
Canceled my life.
Yeah, God has canceled him.
Yeah,
That's
once
dark.
you've been taken.
Yeah,
Once
we all
he's
get.
been-
We all.
Speaking
at the
of
end of the day,
Taken-
get cancelled.
Speaking of Taken, Liam Neeson played both
Wow.
Schindler
that's-
and
there we
and
go.
Taken. Yeah,
That's
Wow.
a really good point.
And Taken. The
Mr. Taken.
Did you-
The character Taken and Taken.
Mr. Taken.
Did you decide to read or learn about that or watch that because of the season 1 arc in For All Mankind with
No, I subscribed to the channel, and it was also just
okay.
a
It just happened.
suggested YouTube video for me.
Okay.
So
That's
funny.
beautiful. I love
Because
that.
it kind of goes hand in hand.
I love that History Hit. Love it. It's a great channel.
When that meme happened, the first thing I thought was, I know
I
someone
know-
who thinks
I
about
know
Rome every
someone-
day.
I know.
It was
we
already
all-
a meme on our show, so it was a little annoying,
Yeah,
to be
and
honest.
all
Yeah.
Tuna was at the forefront
Yeah.
of our minds when that meme hit.
I'll tell you right
Absolutely.
now, Giovanni, I now have. I don't know. You can see these posters back here.
Yeah, I can.
One of them is the
Yes.
chronology of every Roman emperor from Augustus all the way to when the Empire collapses in 476.
Your commitment to this is so beautiful, and I
Yeah.
wish I loved or thought about anything as much as you love and think about Rome. That's a love story. I love that.
It's Rome.
It's so good.
Love
Well,
Talk to me.
here's the new show. You guys like that intro?
Yeah.
I loved it.
That's
It was
lovely. Yeah.
I was just like, it'd be cool if we had like some kind of shitty looking Marvel intro logo. And then there you go. Figured out
There it
I
is.
just made a really crappy version of it. It was great. So at this time of the show, what we do now is talk about the 406th Pokemon, because it's the 406th episode of the Unranked podcast. And that Pokemon, its name is Budew.
Oh God.
This guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
I get
it's
the
a-
worst ones.
3-stage. I mean, it's a 3-stage grass. It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
It's true. Last week we had Luxray, which was great.
That's a cool.
Oh, I
That's a
missed-
cool Pokemon.
Oh,
Yeah,
I missed
Tom, you
yeah.
missed
Luxray.
Luxray got rated
Damn.
high. Got rated
Yes.
high.
Oh,
I
what we do
forgot we were
now?
rating, yeah.
Yeah, what we do now is, now that we're on Gen 4, we starting with the first Pokemon in Gen 4. Each time when we finish the discussion, we're ranking it amongst the Gen 4 Pokemon. So I'll
Oh.
post in the chat the current
Okay.
rankings when we get to that,
Please,
so you can
yes.
see it. But Alex, why don't you tell us about its name origin? Let's get
Right.
into the
Okay. So
etymology of this Pokemon.
Budew, which, you know what I got to say, the evolution of this Pokemon I usually use on my team because it has the Mega Drain ability, and I love that move. Anyway, so actually the trivia on this one is a lot, but origin alone, it may be based on a rosebud, and the name origin, Budew, may, jury's out, be a combination of bud and dew.
Oh.
Not sure how we feel about it.
Surprised the name
It's-
is honestly still out. The jury should have come back on this one.
It hasn't.
They're just trying
That's
to. They're trying to.
You know
pull
what
the
our legal
trial out.
system's like. You know what
Yeah.
our legal system's
Yeah.
like.
I did watch
Gets
Jury
nothing done.
Duty.
Yeah.
Gets nothing done.
They just
So,
don't want to go back to work, their real jobs, So they're like, we gotta hang this
Listen,
jury and
man,
keep going.
nobody wants to work today. Nobody wants
Look, when
to
you
work.
got James Marsden jumping on your bed while you're soaking with some hottie, you don't want jury duty to end, right?
Sure,
You know.
sure.
So true. That's so
Yeah.
true. I always say that.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about what the Pokedex thinks.
Hit it.
When it feels the sun's warm touch, it opens its bud to release pollen. It lives alongside clear pools.
Clear
This is a
pools.
bog standard Pokemon.
Yeah, this is basically your Caterpie
Yes,
bullshit.
but it's your grass Caterpie. It's your
Uh-huh.
Gloom.
I mean, it's
You know-
basically, yeah, it's like, I really need this thing to evolve now. I'm sick of this stage. Let's go.
But some of the first form evolutions, like Caterpie, are like iconic. Like some of the
Mhm.
designs for stuff like Weedle or Caterpie.
Yep.
It's still cute and memorable, and like it's like when you see one, it's like, oh, that's a delight. Budew has nothing going for it. I mean,
No.
really, just like one of these starter Pokemon that like you can't even be like, oh, it's cute, because it's just
Mhm.
like shape, and that's it.
I mean, it's more in line with Bellsprout, right, from Gen 1.
Sure.
And
But
like a
Bellsprout's
Caterpie.
cute.
And Bellsprout is like a
Bellsprout's cute, though.
substantial step up
Yeah.
from this.
Yeah, or like Oddish is a great design.
yeah.
That's one of Brooks' faves.
Yeah, it's a great one. This is just
That being
like
said,
I don't know.
this
Yes,
Pokemon,
Christian.
what's interesting about it is what it will evolve into was from a previous generation. So the previous generation had Roselia, which is, I think, a
Right.
great Pokemon
Oh, that's
design.
right.
Right? Yes, Roselia's
agree.
great.
That was a
Yeah.
standalone. In Gen
Yes.
3, there was no evolution before or after. So the whole point of Budew is to give what people were like, oh, this is a great Pokemon, but it's not very useful because it's single stage. They made it a 3-stage Pokemon now. So then that one's going to get an evolution. So that the best thing about Budew is getting to Roselia for
Right.
sure.
Yeah. A stepping stone, a true stepping stone.
Which
again, though,
yeah.
you got to have that first stepping stone be like fun in some way, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be fun to look at or something. Like
Yeah.
it can't just be blob.
Is
It
this
can't just
Especially
be
when the
blob.
mid stage, though, the mid stage at least isn't the bad one this time. Because usually the
Yes.
middle, you're like, I just want to get past. Whereas
Totally.
with this Pokemon, once you get to that evolution, you're set. However, this is going to be a big knock against it for all three of you. To get to that middle stage, takes a really long time because you have to have high friendship with this Pokemon when
Right.
leveling up.
Right.
Because its next evolution comes with a stone, so you can do that immediately.
So I do want to clarify. It doesn't. The next evolution is not a middle stage. Roselia and Roserade are alternate evolutions for it.
Oh,
so
you're
it's
right.
It's
you're
a
totally right.
two-stage with
Right. That's right.
alternate evolutions. But
You're
yeah,
totally right.
the pain to get either of them, it's so fucking annoying. And
Wait, what?
Gio, we've so
No.
Chris was correct. Roselia
yes, you're right.
was last generation, and then
Yeah.
they introduced Budew in this generation, but they also, as a pre-evolution of Roselia, but there's an alternate Roserade, and it depends on the stone you use.
It says it evolves from Roselia when exposed to a shiny stone for Roserade, not Budew.
Budew evolves into Roselia when leveled up with high friendship during the day.
Right.
Yeah.
Which evolves into Roserade when exposed to a shiny stone.
Yeah, so it is a middle stage.
It's a middle stage.
Yeah, it's middle stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom, what are you talking about?
I think you're
so
thinking
my
of
next
that
question...
other green
Okay, never
Pokemon.
mind.
I think you're thinking of the other green, the one
so
that's
Roselia
like
is actually the middle evolution, which is
Yes.
weird that they inserted it.
Well, that was going to be my question. Is this the first time that they've introduced two Pokemon
on either side?
On either side of an already existing Pokemon.
I do think that
I
is
don't
the case.
think so.
Really?
No?
No,
On either side?
When did this happen before?
Magmar and Electabuzz, right? They were regular Pokemon, single stage, and then they got
babies.
little Magmars, and they got the evolutions.
But eventually they got evolutions. They didn't get them
at the same
time.
time.
Okay, so maybe in the same generation.
Yeah. Magmaton or whatever. Those might actually be this generation.
Magmortar.
Magmortar, yeah. They're good. I like the how freaky they get with those.
I mean, honestly, I think
Digimon
Magmar's
evolutions of those ones.
Magmar's like kind of an incredible Pokemon.
I love Magmar.
Oh yeah.
Magby sucked.
Magby sucks. Magmar's got a big butt on his head, and I love that about him. He's living his best life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah. Well, I think we know enough about this Pokemon.
I'm done.
So I put in the chat so you can see the current list. It goes from best to worst. It's just Gen 4. But right now, the top 3 are Empoleon, Torterra, then Luxray. Those are our current top 3. Which Luxray beat out one of the starter evolutions.
I can't believe you have Budew so low on this list when Budew is like an icon now.
Not to us.
That's fair. Okay, that's fair.
That's how we do it here. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Budew might be coming in last place.
I actually agree with that. You could potentially make a case for it over Bibarel.
That's what I was gonna say. I think
I
think that is the worst Pokemon because at least with like I knew what Budew was, but I think if you just showed me the name Bibarel, I would really struggle to know which Pokemon that was. I probably wouldn't get it.
Yeah, it's a battle for the bottom. I mean, again, you could say that maybe Bibarel's a little more useful, so maybe it deserves to be up the top. But it's definitely one of these is bottom 2. It's bottom 2 no matter what.
All right, what do you guys want?
I'm good with either one of those as long as it's very far down.
It seems like we're all good with. So someone make a choice.
We can put it between the Budew and Bibarel.
Okay. So
I like
going
Budew
second from the bottom.
I like Budew and Budew being right next to each other.
That sounds really nice. That's like jazz. It's like
Budew,
poetry.
Budew, Bibarel, Budew.
Just scat this whole list out.
That would be pretty incredible. All right, so we can move on from the Pokemon. Now we can just whatever the fuck we want to talk about. I feel like Giovanni, since we haven't heard from you in quite some time, why don't you catch us up on anything that you feel like we should know that's interesting?
Oh my god,
that's new.
Yeah, what if I had
what you're doing lately? Whatever you want.
What if I had like a crazy life change and I was like, actually, like I'm in federal prison. I'm recording from.
Right,
wow,
this is a collect call from.
Yeah, I'm using my
starts playing.
I'm using my one phone call right now actually to talk to you. No, pretty much business as usual. I'm still been running the ship over at digitaltrends.com. You know, running the gaming section there. It's been a wonderful year over there. We've been doing very well. Digital Trends is now, according to ComScore data, the #1 tech news website on the internet, and that's That's
Wow.
pretty cool.
Whoa.
Yeah, that is pretty
Impressive.
cool.
That's pretty exciting. Beating out
pretty impressive,
the heavy
actually.
hitters. Yeah, I don't know how it happened, but
Nice.
we're doing good work.
It was
Cool.
all you.
I don't know how it happened.
I mean,
I
honestly,
don't
in a
know.
year
I don't know.
where it has been bad for basically anything around companies that work in tech or video games, that is nice to hear.
Yeah.
Have you guys had layoffs this year at all?
Not really. There were some like very small ones at some point. But I think that might have been last year. We mostly had like what a lot of people had, which was some budget cuts.
Sure.
But we actually, we run with a pretty slim team to begin with, so there's
Yeah.
not much to cut, which is a good place to be in. And they're not the kind of company that kind of like grows unnecessarily, which I appreciate. But that's all business talk. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. No.
Well,
Things have been going pretty well.
It's the end of the year.
Yeah.
What are you playing?
I just
what are you feeling about the games of the year?
Ooh, do you want to get me? I mean, I have my games of the year list.
A lot of questions there, Tom.
Well, just an end of year wrap up with like, what are the vibes?
Yeah, my vibe is that really fantastic year for games, really terrible year for the game industry. I think most people who work in the space will tell you that. I mean, like my list of games that I've liked this year is so long, right? It's like 66 games long at the moment. It keeps growing. Every time I play something, I'm like, oh, there's more. I was just playing Asgard's Wrath 2 on the Quest 3, and like, what a fantastic end of year, like out of nowhere thing.
I'm so excited that you mentioned you have a VR headset because
I do.
that was
Are
going to
you the
be
only
my
other
number
one?
one question for you, to be honest.
About
Because you
Asgard's
think you're
Wrath,
playing
just
the
about-
best VR game,
Right, you think
but
you're
not.
playing a great VR game. but you're not.
What is the best VR game?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I honestly couldn't contain myself. I was so excited.
Okay, I'm excited to hear about that.
So you've been playing Asgard's Wrath?
I played a bunch of it. The thing is, we got access to it pretty far in advance, but I can't wear a VR headset for more than like an hour, and it's like a 60 to 100 hour game. So like even with like 3 weeks of lead time, it was like I can get like five hours into this maybe before the review. Like there wasn't much.
Is
I
it
definitely
a
got
eye strain thing for you, or is it a comfort?
comfort. It like feels like my head is gonna be crushed like a
I
grape.
would because we're playing on PSVR 2s. We
Oh,
got
sure.
a comfort upgrade for it
Yes,
from a
VR
company
games.
called Globular Cluster, and I swear it makes a
Globular cluster.
huge difference because it will replace the back foam part with a much larger piece. It's like a half-size dome, and it replaces the front one with a slightly bigger one and gives you that top strap. It gives us, I mean, I used to probably get uncomfortable after maybe an hour and a half, and now I've played for several hours and it's like fine.
Okay.
It makes a big difference.
I might need to do an upgrade on that, especially because VR games seem like they're getting longer and more involved, and it's not like 4-hour game, so it doesn't matter. Play it in a couple sessions. Asgard's Wrath is like there's no hope that I can finish it right now because I just you can't play a 100-hour game in 1 hour.
I didn't know it had that much content. I mean,
it's enormous.
I've got my eye on this one because I saw IGN gave it a 10, and I was like, fuck. And everyone is now talking about this as like it's a legitimately great RPG. Like VR, it's not only is it impressive for the fact that it's existing in VR, but like the game itself is a fantastic RPG. And I'm like, God damn, really? Okay.
It's really
That's
good.
awesome.
I will say the kind of like 10 out of 10, like praise of it, I think is a little like
Sure.
scope tax where it's like this game's big, therefore it's good.
Yeah.
Like the story is nonsense. I mean, it's
Sure.
100 hours of like total gobbledygook, like Greek gods bullshit
that's my shit,
not
though.
interesting. I know if you might dig it if you just like lore for lore's sake and that's all the story is. And like the voice acting, it's like a PS2 game. Like I mean, it's really like very advanced in terms of what VR is gameplay wise, but it's so far back in terms of where like games are. So it's in this weird space where I think like it's impressive because it's really big. Yeah. I don't know that it being really big and 60 hours long is necessarily like inherently a good thing, but it plays really, really well. It's a really deep RPG. It has all these systems that you would expect. So it's very impressive for a VR game, but like, once I hit a certain point in it, I was like, yeah, this is like really good for where VR's at, but I don't necessarily love the game so much. But I guess it's slim pickings sometimes.
This is where like I mean I think the game looks cool. But
Yeah.
in my opinion, a lot of people look at VR and they look for the kind of games they play on TV, but in VR. And I
Yes.
don't really believe that that is the thing that makes VR great.
Agreed.
So, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's probably fun. But that when I saw that game, I'm like, that looks cool. That is not the thing that's gonna like get me up and out of my seat to go play VR. There are other experiences that do that.
100%.
Giovanni, have you played a game called Walkabout Mini Golf?
No, but I'm in.
Oh my
because
God,
it sounds
dude.
perfect.
It's incredible.
No, mini golf
We
game?
got to get you in the squad. We got to get
It's
you
the
in
game.
It's
squad.
incredible.
Tell me about it.
It's
It is
the game,
the
man.
game.
It is the VR game because you are like on a mini golf course. It has awesome it's just you know what?
Oh,
Even speaking about it, I can't really do it justice other than you actually feel like you're playing fucking mini golf.
We did our 400th episode inside of Walkabout Mini Golf. And
Yeah.
we got the creator of the game to come on. He did like an almost hour-long interview with us
that's
about
so cool.
making the game. Here's what makes this game so incredible. They spent a lot of their technical budget on making sure that the physics work the way you think they should. So when you hit the ball, it's gonna go where it should go. It is so incredibly infrequent that like I'm playing the game and something happens that it shouldn't. Like I feel like that shouldn't have happened and it's janky, which is a big problem with most VR games.
Agreed. Yeah.
But then every other part of it, every other little like detail in the experience, it was just like so well thought out. And I think it's because the creator of the game comes from working in like animated movies. He has just like such a high eye for detail. All of the levels are built like almost little like island like dioramas, so you can actually zoom out into a god mode and look at the full map at any one point. You can like zoom in on it. It looks like a toy
fucking
set.
favor. Do yourself a favor. As soon as we're done with this,
yeah.
go get it.
Okay.
Okay.
I will.
Just go in. Go into
It's
the
unbelievable.
game. You are gonna, and it's so freaking intuitive. You are not gonna need to learn tutorial. You just point your club down, hit the ball. You got it. It's done. That's it.
It's also got both things you want. It's got regular, just like normal courses where it's all about like banking and it's just like interesting holes with like elevations. But then it's got like the weird things where you're playing with gravity or portals or things like that.
Yes.
And they have levels based on mist. There's a mist level.
It is the actual mist island.
Yeah,
this is beautiful.
Jim Henson's
Labyrinth. It's a beautiful game. I'm telling you right now, it's a beautiful game.
It's a beautiful game. Mini golf. That's what they call it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing I actually want from VR. Like you were saying, like those bite-sized experiences that are like very tactile and intuitive. That's the stuff I really want. And like Asgard's Wrath, fantastic and such an accomplishment. But there were times when I was playing it where I was like, oh, I can't wait until somebody like learns what this game does well and breaks it down into like a very short, like fun little thing. Like I don't want to play 100-hour game in VR. I just don't want to. It sucks. It just sucks to do that. And yeah, but whereas Walkabout Mini Golf, that's exactly the thing I want. You know, like one of my favorite VR games is like, y'all played Ragnarok?
No, I know what that's the drumming one.
Yeah, it's a rhythm game where you're on a Viking longship and you like beat the drums along to like, hype the ship up. And it's a rhythm game that's all set to like Viking metal. So you're just like, pounding along to it. And like so simple, so intuitive, just like, great. I know exactly what to do when I pick it up. Cool. And like that game's awesome. That's the kind of VR stuff that I really click with the most usually.
I mean, the best part about it too is like you obviously have the space that you're in, but you don't need to like move around incredibly.
You don't have to, like you just teleport to the ball.
You can teleport to the ball. You don't have to get like people who do get dizzy, like not a problem. Like you look down, you hit the ball. And a nice little touch is your avatar, your mouth moves when you're talking. So when you're looking at the other guy's avatar, their mouth is moving when they're talking, and it's just like this nice little touch that makes it
is
even
a fun
more...
game. Like if you jump on it yourself, you're gonna have a good time. But like if we get you playing with us, like playing with your friends, and we were talking to the great. I don't want to rehash the interview for people that have already watched it, but
I know.
He was
but I could talk
like,
about this forever, Tom.
He was, and the comments in our Discord of like people being like, "Fine, I'm finally gonna pick up."
People finally broke down and started playing it.
But
awesome.
The way in which it interprets like your mannerisms, and it has your mouth moving when you're talking. It does like the personality of the people you're playing with like comes across to the point where it's identifiable. Like if we were all like blank avatars, you could, if you knew us well, you could tell like based on movements and stuff like who is who.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
And
Hell yeah,
there's
that
a there's
sounds
a
cool.
minor
It's great.
level of like the kind of like directional audio. So like I can tell like when Alex is like behind me talking, not necessarily like
Oh, yeah.
you know, so like you are just automatically turning around and looking at each other when you're talking to each other and like you're pointing at things. You can use the golf club like a witch's broom and just fly around if you want. You just like move it in the direction. But the last thing I gotta say about this.
Yes.
The first time I'm playing it with Tom, we get to the first hole and we just like found a lost ball. And it turns out they have cosmetic balls on every hole on every course in the game, which right now there are 23 courses. So there's like almost 400 balls in the game that you can just collect and find.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was like, man, this is amazing. It's like a scavenger hunt. I was like, the only way this would be better if it was like a puzzle, like an escape room. Turns out every hole has a nighttime course. And if you want to get a cosmetic version of your club, they have like actual like riddle puzzles like hidden around the course where you can unlock a themed club for each. So there's actually right now there's 46 courses because there's the daytime course and then the night version, which they redo all of the holes and change them so it's harder.
All right,
It's incredible.
I'm putting it on my list.
It's
put it on my list.
It's an incredible game.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It took a while. We've been talking about it for months, and our listeners are finally starting to play because I think when you're recommending a VR game, there's a lot of inertia you have to come over because a lot of people who had headsets that don't really use them, they just don't, you know, like it's a lot to be like, I have to go start charging this thing. And I think
Once
if
you
you've got a
once you
VR headset,
dust it
you
off,
use it a lot.
We have another friend that I don't think has ever been on the podcast, but we've talked about him a couple times. But we finally convinced him after a couple times. He has a Quest 1. We finally convinced him to get it. And after playing one time, the consistency with which he texted us to be like, are we playing mini golf tonight? You want to play mini golf tonight? You want to play mini golf tonight? And then he went out and bought a Quest 2 because it looks better on the Quest 2 and you can play more courses on the Quest 2. So, and he was in DC this week. That's why we haven't gotten a text from him, but I guarantee like in the next night or so, he'll text us and be like, golf?
I mean, Alex was playing on a Quest 1. I got him to finally play it after like it took me a little while. I got him to play it, and he went out and bought a PSVR 2 within like what, like a week?
A week.
Like it was
System seller. They've been trying to see. They've been trying to.
It was a
they're trying to
system
sell
seller.
these headsets with what's it called? With Asgards Wrath 2 or whatever.
Horizon Call of the Mountain.
Yeah, Horizon, which is like fine, is a totally fine game. Like people forget the Wii became the biggest console in the world because of Wii Sports.
Wii Sports,
and that's what I feel this is. That's what I said to the creator. I was like, you made the Wii Sports a VR. This
also,
is
but Geo.
Yes.
So
yes.
Oh, here we go. Hold
on. So
please, yes.
So after that, a company came out with a club that you can attach
to the
controller. And you can actually, I mean, it's incredible.
You don't hold it like
I love that you bought it. You're really all in.
Like this. Yes, you do.
You
don't
hold it. You go down. Yeah.
Thank you. But I'm not gonna.
But if there's a baseball game, you can use it for that.
Right. But dude, this feels great. The weight on it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It really messes
honestly,
with your head.
When you hold it, it's incredible. It's
an
incredible add-on.
QVC segment that's happening right now.
That is what's happening.
We're not even sponsored by them.
I know.
We need to get them to fucking sponsor.
There's a segment once a week where one of us is like, "Hold on, guys, let me get this thing. I gotta show you."
Yeah,
I love it. That sounds right up my alley. I'll definitely put it on the old.
I mean, look, it's
you let us know. We'll show you the ropes.
We'll
absolutely show you the ropes.
I want to know.
It was Slater in the chat. Yeah, he said, "It sounds like a great game. Geo can spend hundreds of hours in VR in." But hopefully you shouldn't be have the same problems.
I think the most time I've spent like in a game in VR is like 15 hours, and I think that was like Assassin's Creed VR, and that's like the longest I could possibly do.
Heard that shit was good too.
It's great. That game is great.
I'm just so annoyed that none of these are on the fucking VR system that I bought this year.
Oops.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, I think I'm about to go buy a Meta Quest 3.
Great headset. Really good headset.
Then I'm going to return my PS2 and PSVR 2.
You can return your
get a
PS2,
Quest 3.
And get a Quest 3.
I feel like that's a good pivot point for talking about our year report cards. Do we want to talk about our
let's
game
do it.
report cards? We want to pull
Yeah.
those up. Do you have them? Because Giovanni, you said something about
Okay.
wanting to spend too much time in VR.
Okay.
So for me on PlayStation,
Oh, I see. Yes.
I spent 240 hours, 249 hours playing PlayStation 5. 63% of that was in VR this year.
Wow. Okay.
63%, with 47% of that playtime in Walkabout mini golf. I have over 140 hours in Walkabout mini golf.
Oh my god! And just this year?
Yes.
Yeah, because it came out.
Wow.
It's on.
For the last few
on
months,
PSVR this year, of course. Yeah, of course.
For the last few months, Alex and I have had tea time like 3-4 days a week during lunch. We take our lunch breaks, we time them up, and we go play VR we play golf for an hour, and then we go back to work.
Wow, bless up. God bless up.
Yeah.
So let's say does everyone have all of them? The Xbox, PlayStation, and
I don't have all. I don't have my PlayStation one. I'm sure it's comparable to you.
Yeah.
I have my PlayStation 1 up. I'll have to go through them individually and get these. It looks like I did 332 hours on PlayStation.
Okay.
Which not bad. But a lot of the games that I played were just kind of like things I had to play for work. So my top games are like stuff that I just don't really like.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
My top.
What about
my
like
top
a Spider-Man?
Spider-Man's up there. Like that's pretty high. That's the only one that I like really like. But my top game was like Final Fantasy 16, which I don't actually like. I don't think it's a great game.
Yeah,
I think it's
my
fine,
number
but...
my number 4 PlayStation game is Forspoken, which is such a bummer.
Wow.
My number 2 is Hogwarts Legacy, which is not a game that I think is good at all, and I did not enjoy a second of playing it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
PlayStation, I have 231 hours, I believe I just read. 231. My most played game on PlayStation was Jedi Survivor at 54 hours, which is actually a lot more than I thought I'd spent, but I guess I did a lot of side quests and
lot doing it. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in that game.
Wait, how many hours?
54 in Jedi Survivor.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. You do not need to spend that much time to complete the campaign.
I have 41
yeah.
in Jedi Survivor.
Good fucking game, man.
It was a lot of fun.
Great game.
It's such a shame that it came out in such a busy year because I was thinking it didn't.
Yeah, I didn't play it because of Zelda. I waited. Like I didn't,
Yeah.
And then a lot of people didn't play it because Zelda came out, and then they were just like, "Well, now there's other stuff coming out."
And it's such a shame because it's one of the best Star Wars things we've gotten in in the upper echelon of the recent Star Wars stuff. It's up there. So
that is definitely true.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 16. I guess I played more hours than I thought. 35 in that, and then right behind that was Spidey 2. Those are my top 3 on PlayStation. I'm apparently a thrill seeker. That's my gaming stuff.
Love that. You really are. I'm always saying that about you.
I found the PlayStation wrap up. It's like the details are good, but they don't have like a zoomed out view, which is nice, of just seeing like all of them on one card, and you have to have like all of these cards, which I thought was kind of like
it's not easy to get around at all.
Well, it says I'm a connoisseur.
That's a beautiful thing.
We've been saying that about you as well. Yeah.
You spent 57% of your game time defying conventions and playing whatever you feel like.
Identifying wines, sniffing out wines.
Jeez.
How do I see like my top games? Because I only see my top game.
Of the second card I think is for that in the thing at the top.
Let's see.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on my phone.
Okay, so my second one is Spider-Man, and my third one was Pistol Whip, followed by Synapse, followed by Beat Saber. So
wow, it really was VR dominated. Yeah. Holy cow!
Yes. My PlayStation.
You got to justify that purchase as a as an expensive headset.
Chris has definitely done that. Like, if anyone's gotten their money out of that VR headset, it's Chris.
You play Humanity? Did you play Humanity on PSVR?
I did play Humanity. Humanity's pretty cool.
One of my favorite games of the year. I love that game.
Humanity's pretty cool. Synapse, I thought, does kind of the like action that like Asgard's Wrath, you know, like this sort of like
Yeah.
action fighting game. It does that in a more bite size because it's run based.
Right.
So like that I thought was great because it like I would go and I would do 1-2 runs most. I'd play for like 30 minutes and then I'd you know, because like that gets tiring when you're like in combat versus when you're just, you know, you're playing mini golf. So here's my weird thing with my year in review. I actually like, you know, it's fun to look at these things, but I have one like thing that I noticed, which is like kind of interesting. On Xbox, I played 234 hours. On PlayStation, I played 249 hours. And on Switch, I played 240 hours.
Wow.
Wow.
Pretty
Equal.
Wow. That's
Pretty
a lot.
equal.
How weird is that?
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
lot. I
And,
played like 300 something on, I don't remember what I said, 300 something on PlayStation. I played 239 on Xbox. And then on my Switch, apparently I played 480 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't believe this number. I cannot believe that this is the case. So I did like 230 on PlayStation. On Xbox, I did 471.
Wow.
Whoa.
Do you play a lot of Starfield?
And it turns out I played an embarrassing amount of that game that I'm ashamed of. But basically, when we got code, I was playing it like all day, like during work and stuff. I played 153 hours of Starfield this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know how anyone in the world could stomach that much of that game, but that's so good. I'm so glad for you.
Well,
according to my 2023 year in review for Xbox.
Yeah, here we go.
My total time played.
Yeah, here we go.
Was 2,314 hours.
Wow.
Alex
do you
doesn't turn
only
his
do you mostly
console
play
off.
on Xbox?
It's because I don't turn my shit off.
Okay.
So it stayed on.
Got it.
Because I think I left. I think
You gotta
I
fix
left the
those
Master
settings.
Chief collection on for like days, like weeks, probably.
That's beautiful.
You got to fix those settings.
They're keeping those servers open just for you. They're like, someone loves this game.
Someone loves Master Chief collection.
But I will say this, like my other, like right after Starfield, Diablo 4, 78 hours in that one because Brooke and I were playing that like every night for that month it came out.
Very
Destiny 2, 73 hours this year. Like my top 3 games on Xbox are long. Each of them is longer than the amount I spent on my top PlayStation games. So yeah, I played a lot of Xbox this year.
Okay.
That's wild.
Yeah.
My biggest games on Xbox are Jedi, Halo, and Alan Wake. Those are my top 3.
Fuck yeah.
Mine are Starfield, Armored Core, and Like a Dragon Ishin.
How many hours did you put in Starfield?
40. I mean, like I got to the end of that game and I was like, I tried to play more and I was like, this is the most boring video game on earth after you beat it, and I just can't. I like can't just walk around this planet that has copied and pasted assets from another planet that I saw.
Yeah.
Like, what an absolutely ruthlessly
glad I didn't
boring
bother with that game.
experience after you beat it.
It's one of the, we won't get to it in news because it's a very light news story, but like apparently the mods that made the multiplayer for Skyrim, they
I saw that.
They've canceled making that mod for Starfield because they said it's just too boring. And I'm like, man, when like your diehard mods are saying that the game's too boring. Yeah, but my time with it, like for the most part, like I ended up, because I was very high on the game when our review came out. I was like on the higher end, but it was only because I'd somehow managed to play all the good stuff. And then after the review came out, I was like, all right, I should probably finish the campaign. And the more I played through the campaign and like just was doing random side stuff, I was like, oh, this is a slog.
It's a drag.
Yeah,
it's such a drag.
Hours.
I like it. Don't get me wrong. Like I do like it, and I think there's really impressive stuff about it. But like I cannot imagine playing that game for more than 30 to 40 hours. Like it's ruthless at some point.
Can everyone tell what their most played game was? Because I thought mine would be Zelda, but I think it actually might be Walkabout Makeup.
I think Zelda and like Starfield are like neck and neck for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't have my PlayStation one, but I'm gonna say it's probably that. But Zelda is over 200 for me.
Oh,
Then it's
wow.
probably not Alex. It's probably Zelda.
Oh,
yeah.
I got 219 hours.
My
in Zelda.
first game of
I gotta check
2023.
mine.
This is so sad. My first game of 2023 on Nintendo was Nintendo Switch Sports, which is such a shame that game just wasn't Wii Sports.
It just didn't feel right.
It didn't click.
No,
it
just
didn't click.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zelda looks like it was my most played game this year, but I don't have my Steam Deck stats or my PC stats yet.
Sure.
So I'm sure I think that's where most of my playtime is.
Yeah,
actually at this
after
year.
Tears of the Kingdom at 219 hours, both Super Mario Bros. Wonder and Pikmin 4, both 44 hours for me.
Nice.
And then only like less than 20 hours in Mario RPG.
I got to get some time back in on Walkabout because I'm slightly higher on Zelda. I'm at 160. I got to get a couple more hours in.
Yeah.
Yeah, my top one for Switch is obviously Tears of the Kingdom, but it was beaten by Starfield.
That's wild.
116 hours and Tears.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, man.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe after that because we play the new courses, and then Sea of Stars is actually my third place one, which is a game that honestly, the more I play of it, the more impressed I am with it. It adds new layers, new characters. The story goes in directions I didn't expect it to as well. I thoroughly enjoy that game.
I dropped it after 9 hours. I was enjoying it, and then I hit a point where I was like, I think I hit a point where it was like, there are zombies and pirates, and I was like, I'm not fucking 4 years old. I'm done. Like I felt so pandered to. Like I just felt like it was like, oh, you're a gamer? You like zombies and pirates? And I'm like, I'm an adult. Yeah, I'm sure it gets great. I'm sure it gets great. I'm sure it continues to be great. It just felt a little like I wasn't nostalgic enough for what it was trying to do. I just don't have nostalgia for anything. And I was like, this feels like it's just not for me, and that's fine. So but I liked what I played of it. But
it's interesting for me because I don't necessarily have nostalgia for it, but I've had a desire to, get into and play these games that I miss, like Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
And it just like it does such a good job modernizing them. Like the mechanics are so solid that it can scratch that
really
itch.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Chrono Trigger.
I think ultimately, like you would. I mean, I've never like gotten far into it, but from everything I've seen, like the story and all that is better. But just like sometimes you can hate getting into like combat and turn-based stuff, and with this, it's exciting to get into the battles. They're actually like an enjoyable feature rather than like a roadblock. So that's why I like that one. But yeah, so Zelda unfortunately lost out to Starfield, which makes this for me a terrible
sad.
video games.
Yeah,
it's kind of sad.
It's sad.
That is, that's really sad. Yeah. Pour one out.
Unless anyone has anything else to talk about with that, I do want to speak a little bit about some of the games we played this week.
Yes, please.
So, well, first of all, we had a little boys' night this weekend.
We had a boys' night.
We did. It was very nice. Gio, we'll have to get you in on the next boys' night.
I know.
I would love to have Gio in on a boys' night.
You got to have prerequisites. You got to have Walkabout mini golf.
I'll get Walkabout mini golf. I promise.
I just added you on Discord because I was like, I need a way to be able to contact
to get Walkabout
Gio.
mini golf. Yeah.
Yeah. We should definitely do that. We had a boys' night,
a real one, because Alex doesn't game late. And you went to bed at 2 a.m.
I went to bed at 2 a.m. because, Gio, what we did was, okay, we started off in VR, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But we ended up in Fortnite. And
of course,
I hadn't played Fortnite in a very long time. So when I got into Fortnite and I jumped into the game, I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, this is not the game that I remember this being. Something has happened. I think I even said that. I think I even said that
getting through the menu.
Yeah, the menu. I think I said something to the effect of like, "What has this game become? Like, what has happened? What has happened here?" Anyway, so we eventually ended up on this 100 roomed escape room thing.
Oh,
So like
okay.
every single room had like a little puzzle that you had to solve to get to the next room.
Right.
And there were like 100 of them. And I don't know when we started, maybe at midnight. But it like
Very
it got to
akin
be
to
like
Forge escape rooms from like Halo 3 and Halo.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
cool. That's really cool.
so
Yeah.
like someone designed it, someone made it, and we did the whole thing. So it was like 12:30, and I'm like, oh, we're only like 20 levels. All right, I'll stick it out for a little bit longer. And then it became like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I'm not leaving. We gotta finish.
Yeah,
this.
we had to finish it.
So we did finish it, and it was awesome. I had a great time. It was
Yeah,
so much
it
fun.
was
we
so
played
much
together for 35 rooms, and then
Wow.
Oh, right,
Alex
then there
got
was
ahead of
Anarchy.
us.
Yeah,
And that was it.
Anarchy.
That was
And
it.
then
Then
he
it was every man
insisted-
for
yeah.
himself, and it was a
Yeah.
battle.
that was
Yeah.
it was amazing like how late it had become, but we insisted in not helping each other.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we got to kind of like a point where we naturally ended up all in the same room, and then I feel like the last 25, because we were able to all work together, we
blew right
breezed
through, yeah.
Yeah.
But there was a good chunk in the middle where there was a great moment where like basically we're all lockstep. So like Tuna's ahead, I'm in the room right behind him, and Chris is right behind him. And I go into the room where Tuna is, and I just see the Tuna has somehow turned into like a little briefcase and just like scooting under an opening in the side. That was like, Tuna's a briefcase.
That must have broken your brain because
yeah,
we'd never played like prop hunt before.
Yeah,
so
I
he didn't know
you could do that.
that you could just like turn into like objects that are in the room. So that would have melted my brain if I walked into the room and just saw him turn into a briefcase.
So fucking funny.
So Fortnite, there are the 3 new modes now, right? That Epic Games has made
we
itself.
Also played.
Right. There's Lego Fortnite, there's Rocket Racing by Psyonix, and there's Fortnite Festival by Harmonix. What do you guys think of these modes? Which one do you like? Are there any you don't like? I'm so curious. I actually demoed these before they came out, like last Monday at an event in New York. And I've been digging into them like now that they're actually out, and I'm so curious to see what the consensus is on them because I have thoughts on some of them.
What's the third? There's Rocket Race and there's Lego. What's the other one?
Fortnite Festival, the Harmonix music mode thing.
Oh, I haven't touched that.
It's
I haven't
bad.
touched that one. Oh, okay.
Has anyone touched it here?
Yeah, I would say it's funny how I've been seeing like people enjoying that one because I'm like, without having the instruments, like just doing it on the controller is not fun. I mean, there's a little fun to be had. I enjoy, like today I picked up the Raphael TM and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle skin, and I was playing 9 Inch Nails, and so I was like, okay, there's some fun to be had. But I do think that's my least favorite. I think the best one, and mostly because I feel like it's the most complete of the 3, is the racing.
Agree.
And it's
the racing was fun.
The racing is
really fun.
Reminds me of Trackmania.
I'm surprised how good it is.
Yeah, the racing was a lot of fun.
That's the one I've been gravitating towards, and I love it. I've been playing the hell out of Rocket Racing. I think it's like the races are so quick. They're so tense because like they're so speed based and you can catch up. So like I've had races where like I have finished at the same split second as another racer, tied first and second, same split second, and I was like, that's awesome. For me, it's like the first game that really feels like, oh, somebody made an F-Zero game, like a really like
I've missed arcade racers that don't have like item mechanics.
Like skill based, speed based, all like your mastery of just like turning, and also just like having that weird anti-gravity like multiple paths thing that you can have. Really great. I'll also say this about it. One thing that I don't care about with Fortnite is the one thing that everyone loves about it, which is like, I don't care about seeing 100 IP in the game. I think it's like funny for a second to be like, oh,
but what if you're driving the Batmobile?
What if you were driving now? If I was driving the Batmobile, that's a different story.
Yeah.
No, but like
Eventually
but,
that'll happen.
but
Yeah.
like, people are like sharing these videos where it's like, oh, we're playing the music mode, and like here's Peter Griffin, and like here's the alien, and I laugh
Yeah.
for like a second, and I'm like, but that's not game.
No.
That's just like
Yes.
seeing a thing, and
That's
so I've never
the metaverse.
I've never connected with Fortnite as much as other people because of that, because I feel like
Yep.
so much of the enjoyment is like, haha, I know that thing, and I'm like, I don't care. And Rocket Racing I love because that's just not part of it, because you're just
Yeah.
cars, and like you can have your avatar be whatever character, but like the game, like the only thing that draws you to it is the fact that it's a fun racer.
Yep.
And that's it, and I
Yeah.
love that about it. It's so simple and just like so enjoyable, and I don't know.
I couldn't agree more.
You, Chris, bringing up items is interesting, because I was thinking about it. I was like, I think the reason I do like it is that I hate racing in racing games where it's you get in first and no one's getting close to you, or you're stuck in the back and you can't get anywhere. And that's why I love Mario Kart so much, because it can totally shift.
Yeah,
all the
Mario
time.
Kart's great.
But it uses items to make that
Mhm.
happen, right? Like the blue shell and
Mhm.
the all this stuff.
Mhm.
This Rocket Racing is like, yeah, you have to be perfect with like the
Yeah.
drifting
Yeah.
and like when you to use the boost and like picking all these moments, and
Chance isn't
actually
going to
about the
win this
driving.
game for you. You have
No,
to get
not at
good at
all.
this game.
Yeah.
It reminds
Yeah,
me of some of
good.
my favorite racers. Alex and I like grew up playing like San Francisco Rush and Rush 2
Oh,
in
yeah,
2049.
Rush.
And literally I can't
Rush.
remember the last time I played an arcadey racer that felt like that. Because the
Mm.
second they got, like another generation ahead, everyone tried to make their cars feel real and stop caring about the racing part being fun. Or if they were doing the arcadey thing, they were throwing in items like blur and shit like that. And it was kind of like,
Yeah.
where's my pure racing arcade game?
The
And
only other one,
that's why I said Trackmania, because that's the last one I can remember.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
only other one that I feel recently, I really like the Hot Wheels Unleashed. I didn't end
Yeah,
up
that was pretty
doing
cool.
two, but I enjoyed this more.
Yeah.
I think this
Yeah,
is like
yes.
a better racing game.
Yes.
Psionics, really, really great developer. I mean, like you forget
Yeah.
that Rocket League is like
Oh,
a
God,
really,
Rocket League.
really,
I was
really good
obsessed with
video
that.
game. Yeah.
I'm sure I'm not
Mhm.
alone on this, but like you could go back 5 years and I literally was still saying, I want them to just take this game and make a game called Rocket Racing. Like I've said that before on this podcast, and I don't know why it took them like building it into Fortnite to make it, but like
Well,
it's
they
here,
got bought
that's
out
fine.
by Epic and put
Yeah.
on that project. So, yeah, and then the Lego one, I don't know if Tuna's played Lego,
No.
but me and Chris
No, we didn't go
have,
into it.
and
Yeah.
I've played quite a bit more. I enjoy it. I think I think this is a consensus that a lot of people are coming to, is that it's probably Fortnite Festival, the music one aside, I think it's like way more incomplete than Rocket Racing is. There's a lot of I enjoy the fact that it's quite simple and like the building mechanics are fun. But there's not a ton of stuff to do beyond just like upgrading. And once you start running out of those things, it just feels like there's a lot that needs to be added. But there's a lot of promise there. And like out of survival games, I find it very hard to get into them. But this is the one that has
Reminded me of
actually
Valheim.
managed to.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that
Yeah,
I
for
want
sure.
from it is the thing you have to build towards, which is the unfortunate part, which is the like creating weird things. Like I'm playing Tears of the
Tears of
Kingdom,
right.
which is
Yeah.
like that's the thing I want from that, and I don't know why it doesn't just like if there's like a create mode in it,
There
then
is.
like
There is.
then
There,
I
yeah,
might
there
just
is.
screw around with
Sandbox.
that because that's what I
Yeah.
want. I just
You
want to
c-
snap things together with Lego
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
play with physics.
You can, when you create the world, it asks, do you want to do survival or sandbox? And with sandbox, you just get everything and can
Yeah,
do
so then
whatever you
I'm
want.
probably gonna on my own server
Yeah.
just do a sandbox because that's what I want to do. When I saw people making little airships that looked like they came straight from Tears of the Kingdom, I'm like, all right, that is what I am here for. This is why I'm
Yeah.
opening this game up, is to do that. So that's sick. I had so much fun with it. I'm excited. I liked just browsing the like random custom game stuff in Fortnite. We played Prop Hunt. Someone made like a replica of the house
Good
from
game.
Home Alone.
Oh,
And Tom and I were like playing Prop Hunt. So like you get a little prop gun and you can basically point it at other props within the house and outside the house. And then you turn into that. And then you go and hide and stand still. And then the seekers have to come and try and like find everyone like
Mhm.
who's pretending to be a and like that was a really fun game to
Yeah,
play.
and it was like an exact 1-to-1 replica of the
It was
Home
amazing.
Alone house.
That's
Like,
Yeah.
amazing.
and Tuna's a big Home Alone fan, and I was like, I bet you
Mhm.
Tuna could know his way around this map, like without even thinking.
Oh yeah.
Possible.
Gio, so what do you think of the Lego one? I'm curious about your thoughts on that one.
I think the creation suite in it is amazing. I think like the fact that I when I talked to them, they said like something like 10,000 bricks, like real bricks that they have
Whoa.
replicated. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's expansive. It's really expansive. Like the game part of it is boring. Like I tried to
Yeah.
do the like, oh, I'm gonna like do the game and build stuff up. And as soon as I realized it was just like, okay, now you unlocked a new recipe, make the thing, I was kind of like, eh. I think if I was playing it like in a server with friends, like I've played Minecraft before, that would be fun. But at the end of the day, it's clearly for kids. Like it's clearly
Yeah.
a toy box, and
Yeah.
that's it, and a digital toy box. And I think that's awesome. I think like there's a good reason that people gravitated towards it, and it's like more popular than the battle royale for now. But it's something I recognize isn't for me, and I'm really glad that kids have it because I think it's like buying a bunch of Legos is very expensive, right? Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's just really, really expensive. And the fact that you can have all of that and build the stuff, and then like, you know, if you make something in Fortnite and you're like, oh, I'm really interested in it, it's a good way to fuse digital and physical toys. And I respect what it is a lot. I think it, you know, I hope it just has a lot of kids, you know, inspired to be creative and whatnot and make things in the same way that kind of like Minecraft did.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not something I'm gonna play. But
Did
like
you mess
Rocket
around with the
Racing, I'm gonna
create
play,
mode?
but
Like or no?
not really.
Okay.
I you know, both times that I played it, I kind of like started from, all right, I'm gonna like start a new world, I'm gonna jump into
Yeah.
it, you know, see, and then as soon as it was kind of like, it's just hitting a bunch of rocks, I was kind of like, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
this isn't quite my thing.
Because that the idea, if the create mode works the way it should, which like in
Yeah.
Minecraft you can just do anything, and like you can just like you don't have to worry about dying, you can just delete things,
Yeah.
you don't have to like break them. Like if I can just use any piece like to my heart's extent and just build things in create mode, then that will be something I will play a lot with. If I can't, then I'm probably only gonna
From
hop
everything
in
I
with Tom. understand,
you will be able to.
That's
Yeah.
I have to do. Yeah, I have to try that. I'll have to do it.
Yeah.
Report back. Let you know
Report
next
back.
week.
Yeah.
You know, I'll have to do that. That sounds cool though. How does everybody feel about taking a quick 5? Otherwise, you can keep talking. I just got to go grab something to drink and get my cat food.
I was going to talk about the finals. Did you want to be around for that?
I can miss
Chat.
that.
Okay, cool.
Alex
I
can
can
cover
miss
that.
that.
It was fun.
Alex can cover it.
Yeah, so I've played quite a bit of the finals. We played a bit that night, the night, the boys' night. But I've been playing more since, and there is some fun things that I did not know was in this game. So when we were playing, I texted the guys, but I was like, oh, the kind of like telekinesis mechanic that you used to pick up the vault. Have you played any, Gio?
Yeah, I played like an hour of it the other night. Yeah.
So the telekinesis you can use to pick up the vault, you
Right.
can use on like the explosive barrels and like the toxic barrels,
I didn't know
and
that.
shoot them, like propel them. So that really changes up the game because it's obviously all about like the destruction. And then there are alternate variations of the maps. So there's one that's meant to be like set in like a Vegas type arena.
Yeah, I know that one.
And then there's a version of that where a sandstorm has come in, so the whole map is under sand dunes.
That's neat.
And so like the tallest building previously, like to get up, the way you get up is you're climbing up sand dunes. So there was that, and then there was one that was you know how they insert variations, like gameplay, like switch ups, so it'll be like, oh, we just turned low gravity on, or we did insta kill. I was actually playing on that map with the sand dunes, and it was like alien invasion has started. I was like, alien invasion? What? So I ran outside, and there were 3 UFOs over the map, and they would drop a bunch of bombs on an area to like completely decimate it, and then they would use like a ray to slowly like levitate everything underneath that cone, so all of the rubble and all the players were being like pulled up into the air. And so there's like a bunch of like things like that which bring another level to it. But yeah,
in all
I've been
seriousness,
enjoying
how
that quite a bit.
How long do you think this game lasts? A year? 2?
I actually think that, I mean, it's hard to say because it's like, well, even the big players in the live service space are struggling. I mean, we'll even get to the fact that like Naughty Dog couldn't even make it happen. You know, so it's one of those things where it's like, look, the odds are really stacked against you. That being said, I do think it brings something fresh and unique to the live service space. You know, I was telling them when we were playing, I was like, it just is so nice to not play a new shooter that is not like a fucking battle royale or like some like variation or an extraction shooter. Like it's more. I mean,
it's kind of an extraction shooter.
Yeah, but in a way that is more like you playing like team deathmatch, you know, in Halo versus like spending half an hour to 45 minutes in a match, like struggling to survive, scrounging all this crap. So I think it has the potential to. There are so many live service games that come out, and I'm like, oh my god, I feel terrible because I just know that this is not going to be around. You know, in even a few months, you know, like potentially. This is one where I'm like, I'm not going to say it's a guarantee like this is going to be a shooter that goes on for years and years and years, but I do think it has more of a chance of that than like it failing immediately. It's consistently held numbers since launch, and I think those numbers have actually like have increased in spots, so I do think it has potential, but the odds of it, if the industry is telling us anything, it's that it's got a big uphill battle.
I think there's also blood in the water with just like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 not being very good, and I think people are starting to get frustrated with that, and the fact that Finals is like a shooter for people who love shooters that has like, you know, it's gimmicks and whatever, but
and it's really like the best of the
gimmicks.
best of the Battlefield team, you know, like it's all of the people that made the good Battlefield games, and obviously like it has the destruction of Bad Company, which I mean, I'm a Bad Company 2 boy through and through. So I
need to play it more. I enjoyed the matches I played, but I definitely like had trouble finding the rhythm of it. And I don't know if it was just because like the starter weapons are kind of bad and you have to grind to get the good ones. But I started to find my footing a little bit more when I was playing as like the heavy and barreling through walls and really like, you know, blowing a hole underneath a safe so that I can get it down to steal something. That's when I started clicking with it. But I noticed like it feels like people have a really hard time doing the objectives, and like people always have the hard time doing the objectives in games. Like they never do them, but like the UI just like to find them is so small that like I don't blame people. Like I couldn't figure out where the hell I was going at any given point, and I was like, not like I've yet to do a round where like my team gets a point, you know, because
we did pretty well.
Nobody knows, you know, what to do. But I like the idea of it.
Oh I feel like we did well now. Hearing that,
I'm sure y'all killed it.
Yeah, once you
I thought we sucked, but we did all right.
I was initially having a tough time with it because when I started playing it, I was still playing Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And the best thing about that game is like the movement, right? Mechanics and like everything. So I was having a tough time because that game is so much about running and leaping and timing your jump to mantle onto things and all this. And so I was trying to get used to that. So you do have to get used to that. And then, you're right in terms of the game's meta opens up and the idea of how you play opens up way more when you use the destruction to your advantage of like, I don't have to climb to the top of this building to get to the vault. I can destroy the foundations of it and bring it crashing down. Like there was one match where my team that I was playing with were defending a spot and no one was getting close to us. I was like, we've got this in the bag. And then suddenly the fucking floor drops out from under us. And like the whole building is like teeter-tottering and like we're sliding everywhere. And the vault is going from like floor to floor and like it goes down and there's one team on the floor below and they start stealing it, but then it slides down to the next and the next team goes in. So it's one of those things as well where it gets so much more enjoyable when you understand like how to use that to your advantage and how people may use it against you. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that one goes.
I hope it does well. It's a cool idea for a game. I need to give it another shot. But I also like for live service games. I know it's always like, oh, it's so sad that this game shut down. I'm fine with a lot of them shutting down and like having their like year of being fun and being done. It obviously sucks that they go away because it's a preservation issue and that stinks. But like games.
I just wish they didn't have to die the way they do.
Yes,
in the past,
agreed.
you could have just made a game and sold it, and then like, you'll put out DLC for it, and like people can play it for years to come. And now it's like it's a live service game, and if it dies, it dies, and it's gone.
Yeah,
that's the one thing I liked about the way that Knockout City ended.
That's what I was just thinking of.
Yeah, it felt way
that game was
like,
great.
It was great, and I'm sure that they would have liked to have continued it beyond where it lasted, but they were like, "Hey, we're building new stuff. Like we're ready to let this go and use what we've learned to build the next thing." And that seemed to have way more of a more natural death than just like, oh, the rug's been pulled on.
I think they made it so you could still play each other if you're on PC. I think console it breaks because of the servers, but I think on PC they made it so it can work like peer-to-peer or something like that. Like you can search for people, and I think they said they didn't have a way to work on
Splitgate had a nice ending too, where they were like, hey, we really just want to start working on a new game, and like we're gonna leave this game up and people can play it, and we're gonna add an infinite battle pass where like you can constantly get like new skins and rewards and whatever or coins. But we just want to make a new game that takes all the learnings from this and
they're making like
another
Splitgate, right? Is that correct?
They haven't said exactly what it is, but they were like, it'll have portals and it'll have guns. That's pretty much what they've said about it. So it's Splitgate. Because they were trying to like build that game from the inside out. They like started as a small game, then it got big, and then they were like, we're gonna make it a AAA game from the inside. And then they were like, we can't actually do this. We have to make a new game. And it was like, okay, cool, yeah, great. I had fun playing it for like a year, and I'm happy to move on because there are too many games.
Yep. What was that one live service game we played, Tom? Hyper something or other?
Hyperscape, dude.
Oh, Ubisoft.
Ooh.
I think we played that for like one day.
I think everyone played it for one day. That game.
What was wrong with it?
It was just the epitome of all the bad stuff we've been talking about, of like them chasing the battle royale. It had
a sick aesthetic though. That was the only thing.
The aesthetic
it looked
was
like
cool.
Tron.
I think it was like a high movement, right? Like it was kind of like finals of like your running, jumping, vaulting, sliding around. It had some cool ideas, but it just was so very clearly like Ubisoft trying to cash in on the battle royale.
We got one of those.
Yeah, and so it didn't feel like it had any character. Like it felt so like by the numbers battle royale. There was some cool things about it, but yeah, it died so quickly, fucking quickly, but not as quick as one of the games in our news stories.
Well, before we do news, really quick, Alex and I played one other new game, so I'm
okay.
Over 80 games played for the year based on my stats now, which is quite a lot. But Alex, want to tell them about the game we played today?
So we played We Were Here Friendships Edition. So We Were Here is that puzzle game that Chris and I have been playing, the series that we've been playing for years. Co-op escape room. So we've played 3 or 4 so far. And now we're in like this last, well, not the last, but they came out with like a $4 quick
version.
Yeah, it's called The Friendship.
right, the friendship. So it's like
Got
3
it.
puzzles, but the puzzles are actually pretty fucking hard.
Yeah.
And you're rated on how well you've done the puzzle. So there's bronze, silver, and gold ratings. I won't give too much away, but for anyone who is interested in playing, I don't want to spoil anything, like Tom always spoils everything. But so we have gotten 2 bronzes and we haven't completed the 3rd puzzle yet. So
Wow. Okay.
we're gonna have to go back and try to get the golds, because I will not settle for bronze.
Well, so we did complete the 3rd puzzle. We got silver. And when you complete the puzzle, like it's themed like an amusement park. Like you're like on It's a Small World. Like that's the ship, and you're going from like puzzle to puzzle in like an amusement park. When you get bronze, silver, gold, you get a ticket that comes out of like a ticket machine, and then you like feed it in to move on to the next one. If you pass, you get the bronze, silver, gold ticket. We had failed so many times on the one we were just playing that when we finally got silver, I just out of habit grabbed the ticket and put it into the retry machine.
Oh
We shredded the ticket, so it
no!
didn't work.
After we finally beat it, we had kept dying at this one part so many times, and Alex is like, "What the fuck did you just?"
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah,
Rude.
I felt bad.
Oh,
I felt bad about that.
oh.
Yeah,
It was pretty funny though.
Game sounds really
think-
cool though.
It is.
Oh, it's
a lot
great.
of fun.
It's fantastic.
lot
You
of
have
fun.
if you have a friend, because you only need one.
I'll
Yeah,
find.
you have a
I'll
friend.
get on that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll find one.
If you have
Find a
one,
friend.
if you have 2 friends, no good.
Okay,
Yeah.
just one. Well, that's good. I probably only have one. I'll
Because
figure it out.
a lot of the puzzles are like one person's in one room and one person's in another, and so like sometimes you're working together, or sometimes it's like you have to do something for the other person to be able to get through. So like you do have to like cooperate, but you don't always be able to see what the other person's seeing, so you're describing it to each other.
It would be a perfect game to play with my girlfriend if she was capable of doing puzzle games. But as she has told me many times, "quote I am not a shape rotator." That's what she always says.
There you go.
And I was like, I don't know what that means. And
What
she had to
about-
explain that whole meme to me, and I was like, okay.
What about there was one puzzle in the last game, which was like one of my favorite puzzles, where we had to translate a sort of like giant squid monster underwater, and it was speaking to us, and so I'd hear the sounds, but then Alex had a like book that had all these different words that would play sounds. So then I would have to try and, because I'd hear what the squid said, I'd have to try and make that noise to Alex. So then he, based on my replication of it, would listen to what the translations were, and he'd be like, was it or was it
Yeah.
like it was the weirdest thing I've ever done.
I love
Yeah.
that.
It was fun though.
Great.
It was great.
So if she's a voice rotator, she's
No,
really mad.
no, probably not. But I'll see what I can do. I'll make it work.
One last thing too, the anecdote about Fortnite that I was so funny in the moment. Speaking to Fortnite's cultural like just dominance that it's had.
Yeah,
there is nothing speaks more to that than us playing Tuna, having not played it in forever. And, I don't know how he's going to feel about this statement, but Tuna is the most adult friend I have in terms of he's got the house, he's got the baby.
sure, yeah.
He's him and his wife do very well. They don't, they're definitely doing a lot better than I think most people my age are. Tuna took one look at someone else with their Goku skin and went, I want to be Goku. And I was like, that's Fortnite gets you. That's Fortnite right there.
It does it.
I forgot about that.
And then
that
I threw
also...
my Goku skin on after, and he was,
That was also at the same time because we were in the remake of Squid Game, and he goes like,
Squid Game.
There's like voice work in it and stuff. He goes, how'd they get this in here? How'd they make this? And then the voiceover starts, and he goes, who recorded that? How'd they get that voice in here? How'd this
It's a great question.
Like,
how do they make it?
I was like, how do we explain game development to someone who's been talking about video games once a week on a podcast for almost 8 years? I don't really know how to navigate this conversation, Alex.
But when I saw Goku, I was like,
I'm gonna have to pull the trigger.
I really want to be Goku.
That was me when I saw it when they added John Cena to the game. I was like, Wait,
okay.
am I gonna be a
Well,
Fortnite
wait, hold
guy
on. So
now?
there was another. So we were in the Fortnite when we were in the Squid Game like waiting arena or area. Some people were just like dancing to shout. So they were like,
Yeah.
"Get up and shout now!" And then I walk over and it says hit X to dance with them. So I
Uh-huh.
did, and I'm dancing. My guy's dancing. I'm like, "This is the greatest thing I've ever seen." The only way this would be better is if I were Goku.
If I
you
were,
were-
Then it
yeah.
would. Then it would be the.
It'd be perfect.
Tom's All Might, and he's on a Segway, and Alex goes, "Where'd you get that Segway?"
I'm like, Tuna's about to refinance the house to get some V-Bucks.
That's
Then
the
you
danger. That's the danger of it.
You showed him the Halo Warthog. He goes, "How'd they get that in here?" like they had to like take it out of the Halo
Yeah.
and put it into the
Yeah,
Warthog.
they had to import it. They had to import it from Halo. That's so fucking funny.
I did
Yeah.
ask that. I did say, "How'd they get that warthog in here?"
Oh. Tom, you wanted to cover some news real quick?
Yeah, we'll speed through it. Yeah.
Beat Demon.
Let's hear it.
This week everything has been cancelled. The days before has been cancelled. The Last of Us multiplayer has been cancelled, and E3 has been cancelled. So the days before, this was a game that came out last week. It's had some shady kind of development around it. The workforce might be volunteer based. It might be reusing assets. It might be stealing animations from other games. It comes out.
They've taken donations, but they haven't sent that money anywhere.
Oh, right. Yes. Yes. Well, they kept insisting. They were like, we took no money beforehand. We didn't do a cake. Like, we taken no money. All this. But so the game came out. It got terrible both reviews and then
Which game is this?
Steam. It's called
The
The
Day
Days Before.
I heard this was like a bait. I heard it was like a bait and switch.
Yeah.
No, it's
That's what it sounds like.
Okay.
Day before. Yeah, it had a very troubled production history to the point that nobody should have been surprised by this. Because this was the same game where they didn't register the trademark for the name of the game, and at some point they delayed it because they were like, "Oh, we can't call the game The Day Before anymore because someone bought the trademark of that under
weather
us."
app from Korea had the trademark or something. Yeah.
And then they kept mysteriously pushing it back and not really showing stuff about it, and then it would be yeah, it's coming out, and then they'd be like, just kidding, we're delaying it again. And it at some point became clear that there was something wrong with it. And I think I years ago was like, oh, this game's a scam. And then when it came out in the state that it was in, which apparently was incredibly busted to the point of being IGN, their first
Gave
1
it a
out of
1.
10 review in a decade, I think.
Yeah.
It was I was not surprised. I remember people were asking me, they were like, "Oh, we just got code for this. Are you guys reviewing it?" And I was like, "We're absolutely not reviewing it because it's absolutely not a game that's real." And sure enough, it was not a game that was real.
Yeah.
So that came out, I think, Thursday last week, and then Monday of this week, the studio said we're shutting down.
Big surprise. Doesn't sound like they were really up.
Yeah,
I think there's a tax scam happening there that we're gonna find out about.
Yeah.
So
some Russian oligarch had some money to move around.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is it has funding from a Russian publisher. They are supposedly
esports and scam video games. They love Russian and Saudi Arabian money. That's just how those things go hand in hand. That's just
they're supposedly refunding everyone. There's also been some shit with maybe they reverted their studio name back to their original name, and that they're going to try and continue to do development, but they've insisted that they're really shutting down. It's really fucking skeevy. So yeah, this game...
who are you trying to make feel good about this? No one gives a shit. All right, goodbye, see ya.
No, this is not.
Guys,
this
don't
is
worry,
very
we'll
different.
be back. We're gonna figure this out. Who are you talking to?
Well, I don't think it was even like that. I think it was more under the radar. But there's so much information around there right now. But yeah, this is very different from all of the the other studio closures that have happened this year. This is you deserve this. You deserve this to happen to you.
Yeah.
So yes, that got canceled. The Last of Us multiplayer game, which has been in development for years, has been fully canceled. This has been long rumored to not be happening right, but we finally got confirmation from Naughty Dog. They basically said that we either had to become, this had to be all we did, or like we had to drop it so we could focus on our other games, and we decided to do that, which is obviously the smart move for that studio.
Yep, absolutely.
When you said this had to be all we did, I'm like, is that another game? Like the day
Yeah,
before The Last of Us, this had to be all we did. Like
this had to be all we did. Yeah, that's pretty good. They confirmed that they're working on multiple single player projects. That it's been rumored that Last of Us 3 is in development along with something else. It's just a shame that Aftermath, Luke Plunkett on Aftermath had a great article that was basically like, the game that never should have been gets canceled. Like, why did you even start this project? And I do agree with him to some extent. I just wish that it didn't have to be, we either do a multiplayer game or we don't do a multiplayer game, or it's like a massive live service project. Like,
right.
Why can't it just be like a fucking
like Walkabout mini golf?
Something,
like
yeah. Last of Us Walkabout course would be so sick.
Oh, it'd be so good.
That would be really fucking
amazing.
sick. Yeah, because the factions mode was great in the first one, and expand something that expands on that. I didn't need it to be this thing that has a battle pass, and I'm coming back to do challenges every day. Like, it just needed to be like a multiplayer. Like, if they'd made like a $30 multiplayer game that was like a more standalone version of the expansions from the first game, that would have been awesome. But
how many people were like really counting on that game anyway, though? Like, I feel like that's not what I come to for.
I think if you're like a diehard PlayStation fan, like one of those people who's like, please, drink water kind of person, like. I really think like if you're looking at PlayStation right now, it's like, what games do they have coming out, right? It's like Wolverine is going to be a thing, and like that
there's going to be Spider-Man DLC.
Yeah, Spider-Man DLC, but like Sony's going all in on live service. It's like Marathon and Fair Games and all these games that like don't really look that great yet, and like the only thing you really had was, well, Wolverine is our next single player game, and like, hopefully Naughty Dog is just good enough that they can make this could be the one multiplayer game that's good. I feel like it probably is a big deal for people who like really care about PlayStation, because if you think now about like what's coming out, what's the next PlayStation game you're excited about, like what is it after Wolverine? I don't.
But they just had like such
a
banger year. They just had, and like
did they?
I guess maybe not from an exclusive standpoint, but
yeah,
I don't know. Like owning an Xbox and a PlayStation is also still like, just in a way, like third-party games are still, where you play those, because you don't go to your Switch for those games. You go to your Switch for Nintendo games.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, obviously like Square Enix carries PlayStation to a big extent. Like Rebirth, Final Fantasy Rebirth next year is like the only game they really actually need.
Yeah.
But like, if you're talking first, like I cannot name one that's coming out other than Wolverine at this point. Like, Marathon, but that sounds like it's in weird trouble.
I mean,
so many layoffs, and
it's also partly exciting to like not know what Bend is up to, not know what Santa Monica or Naughty Dog is. Like, we don't know what their next big game is. They have so many great studios. Like, what's Housemarque's next game?
But how long until those things come? That's the worry.
But there'll be a bunch of other stuff to play. I do think though that like I kept telling these guys, I'm so happy that Remedy walked back their multiplayer plans, and they came out and they said it's not going to be a live service game. It's going to be more of a traditional multiplayer experience that you pay for up front, and it's going to be what it is, and we're just going to bank on selling units versus microtransactions and battle pass money and all this. And when they said that, I was like, thank you, because I think you could make a really fucking fun multiplayer game, but I don't want it to be I don't want it to fail. And then I also don't want it to be this thing that I feel compelled that I have to keep returning to. And I wish that this Last of Us project could have turned into that, because I think, like I said, I think Factions was such a solid multiplayer mode. If they could have done something that expanded that, there was something there. But the marching orders were, it has to be a live service thing, and they just couldn't make it work. So
I think Sony is there's probably a top-down Sony thing that's like, hey, we need this franchise to be milked for all it's worth because it's successful. Like, you got to figure it out. Like, make something that keeps this game going, because we know that Last of Us 3 is not gonna be a thing that comes out for X amount of years. Like, even with like the Last of Us Part 2 remastered that's coming out next month, it's like, why does it exist? You know,
I wonder how much money they're getting through, like how the money breaks down with the TV show.
yeah,
it's a great question. Yeah,
You know, because they're definitely pulling in money from that. That show was excellent. So
and
I'm
probably a lot more
excited for that than any Last of Us related game stuff. To be honest, I feel like that works better maybe as a TV show than a game, personally. But.
Yeah, and I think Neil Druckmann's heart is more in the TV show, to be honest.
And honestly, I think at some point we're going to get an Alan Wake TV show.
That'd be cool.
I mean, God, it would be so good. It would be so good. It would be awesome. Anything else that we should cover here, Tom?
I mean, E3, it's officially dead.
We went to the last one.
We went to the last one.
I produced the last one. I killed
it. It's been
wow.
Yeah, it was you. You got your hand on the gun, the smoking gun. Yeah. I mean, obviously, this has been a joke for a long time that it's been dead because it just hasn't come back, and we keep pushing it back. But they've officially said, nope, we're just not doing it anymore. And yeah, it's one of those things where there's obviously it had a lot of problems, but also I do think it had some where we are losing something from it going. That as much as Summer Game Fest and all of that has certainly adapted more to the like where consumers are consuming things, and then also like the needs of the publishers. Yeah, it's missing like
it's not a replacement
that E3 had for all of its warts and all.
It's Gamescom now. Gamescom is basically going to be the
I want to make it out there eventually.
It's a great show. Really great show. Yeah,
we need a Gamescom in the US. We need a new version of
USA.
This.
Gamescom USA. So. Maybe they'll just do that. Yeah, the E3 thing is, I'll just say quickly, I think it's a bummer. I know that the knee-jerk reaction, everyone was like, good riddance, we hated it, because it's like people who worked in press who were disillusioned of going to do work at it, and it's like, cool, good for you guys. Like, I'm glad that you got to do your job and that you are now don't like to do your job. But like
the same people that, by the way, when they first got to go were so excited because they cared about that stuff, and now they've done it and they're like, oh, it's just a hassle for me. It's like, well, it's a lot of people that are really excited about this.
Yeah, like I get it. Like whatever. Like I hate doing my job too. But like but I do think people underestimate the like how much E3 made everything easier, because now E3 is every day. There's like a different live stream every day that's like PlayStation Presents, and like Square Enix is doing a live stream.
They can't fucking settle on names, man. Their naming like, I need you to pick a fucking Nintendo nailed it. They got the
showcase.
Direct. But then they got fucking, because they made the Nindies, and now it's the Indie Showcase.
Indie
and
World,
like, all right, you get one name change. But it's Xbox can't fucking settle on something. Partner presentation, showcase, Direct.
Xbox is forever in that cycle of like, we're gonna make it like a show with people, to we're just gonna show some trailers to, but now let's try people again. Like, that's their problem. Is like they want it to be more than it is, and every time they try it, it's not something people want. So it's like they're just forever failing and trying and failing and trying.
So all I was gonna say is like, I think the important thing about E3 was that, like, if you are a casual gamer who just like wants to spend most of your time actually gaming, but still wants to like know what's going on, E3 was perfect. You tune in for 4 days of the year, you get all of the news that you need to get, and then like the rest of the year, if you want to get updates on those games and see how they're coming along, like you tune back in and you're like, oh, I'm gonna follow this game that I saw at E3 and whatever. And now it's like, you have to be tuned in 24/7 and like not know which streams are worth watching and which ones aren't worth watching. And you get these things where it's like every time there's any stream ever, you have a chat full of people being like, Hollow Knight? Is Hollow Knight gonna be here? Is GTA 6 here? Because like it's such like a wild west, and it sucks. It just sucks so much that now like everything is E3 and every day is E3 and nothing feels special, and there's no moment where the whole world is looking at gaming, and like we get that
the Game
mainstream
Awards.
moment.
But it's a great
wish it
commercial.
wasn't. I wish it wasn't. I wish that wasn't it.
I mean, look, there's a lot of things that have been and can be said about the Game Awards. The one thing I think people should try and take into context, because there are a lot of people that are like, oh, it'll never be the Oscars or this or that or the other. If you know about the history of the Oscars, you would know that the Oscars were created because people thought that movies weren't art, and people thought that movies weren't important. And they were trying to help a struggling industry feel important. And so the Oscars were literally made by the industry themselves to make themselves feel important and to get more money into the industry and that's kind of what the Game Awards are doing, but in a way more commercial sense and not about the art.
There's also the thing with the Oscars where the actual reason that people the history of why they think it was made was because at the time the Oscars were made, the industry was talking about unionizing. And the Oscars were made by the studios as a response to be like, how do we make people stop unionizing? Oh, we'll just give them awards so that they feel important. And that was their like union. The Oscars are like a union busting tactic.
That's amazing.
It's like they suck so bad.
But there was the problem of the other sentiment was like the actors themselves were basically being treated like second fiddle from stage actors. And so they were having trouble like getting people to star into like a movie when they wanted like the good actors were like, no, we're not, so there were, it's multiple places. But the thing was with the Game Awards is it's like, this exists as a commercial aspect to the industry. And there is no part of it that's really about like celebrating the people who make the games.
It's funny because that's why E3 was made too. E3, the whole reason that E3 came about was because like
CES,
yes, well, it was like games needed to get attention, and they were like, well, if we make an event, the newspapers have to cover games once a year because there's a big expo and they're going to need to follow it. And yeah, the Game Awards definitely is like that moment now. But just call it Winter Game Fest. Like it's not an award.
Winter Games Gala. So everyone still gets dressed up.
I like
you
that
can put the
one.
awards
Winter
out.
Games
I'm calling
Gala.
it Jeff's
Make it
Winter
a ball.
Games Gala.
Make it a ball. Do dancing.
Winter Ball.
Yeah,
you could play the Hamilton song, Winter's Ball. It'd be great.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
The
yeah.
I was just gonna say with it, it's one of those things where it's like it's tough because there are awards for games that are the awards, right? Like there's DICE, there's the Joystick Awards, like there's numerous other things, but they don't get the attention that the Game Awards does for obvious reasons. And
the DICE one feels like GDC, like that stuff is where I think those awards should matter more anyway.
100%. Well, because they're also coming from developers, right? Like,
which is why
developers voting,
like real
voting
juries.
on them.
Which by the Game Awards, they move into
not just
Winter's
Geo.
Ball, right? The Winter's Ball, but then make it a People's Choice Award. Fuck it. Just make it the Winter People's
you may
Choice
as well
Award.
at this point.
You may as well.
Do that.
Baldur's Gate won it. Like nothing would have changed. I think like all of the categories probably would have been the same.
Because I like getting all the trailers.
Yeah, honestly,
I enjoyed having a winter E3. Like there were so many game announcements that I was like, this is great. That's cool, but that's not an award show.
That's the problem. That's the problem. Like
it
at
is
the end
trying
of
to have its cake and eat it too. It's trying to be both, and it should probably
People's Choice
just
Awards
be,
how you get around that.
Yeah. Just lean more into like the fucking Nickelodeon Kids Choice Awards.
Start slamming people.
Because the thing is like it is like that, but then their statue is like the angel thing, and I'm like, just get the bucket of popcorn, get the get the controller, award or whatever. Like that's
slime Ed Boon on stage.
Oh my god, get some slime in
Mountain Dew.
Dude. Oh yes,
we spray you with Mountain Dew.
Yeah,
and then drop Doritos on you.
Neil Druckmann getting up on stage and getting hit with a power hose of Mountain Dew swept across the stage.
Someone comes out with like the Mario backpack and he's got the
Yeah.
flood, and he just starts
you go.
soaking him.
I mean, there was that bit last year where Jeff made like a joke about Final Fantasy, and it turned out to be like use the code Final Fantasy to get like 10% off your Taco Bell order or whatever.
Grubhub or
And I'm like,
something,
you
yeah.
just awarded an award for like games for impact, and this person just had like this speech about like how their father dying has inspired them to make this game, and then it's like
they'll never do this, and I wish he would.
Yeah.
I wish they would just split it up into 2 nights, like the I think the Emmys does it, where it's like the first night, don't even televise it, don't live stream it. Everyone's in town for the show anyways. Do most of the awards that night and let people do actual speeches for like audio design and RPG and all these categories that Jeff doesn't give a shit about. And have your like actual awards night, right? Don't rent out the Peacock Theater. Rent out like a smaller space that doesn't cost as much money. Don't do a spectacle, and just have like a nice dinner for the industry and have that be it. And then the second night, do your like 2 hours of show, 2.5 hours of show, whatever, however long you have to do it. And like, you know, then show like the 4 big awards or the 5 big awards, let people make actual speeches like the Oscars does. And like, that's it, you know, like, then you can have your cake and eat it too. And it can be a celebration. The people who win the big awards still get to give their actual speeches on the second night, whatever. But like, don't waste our time. You know, like there was the thing this week where I think the head of Larian or the director of Baldur's Gate, I don't remember, Sven from Larian, just did the thing yesterday where he was like, here's what I wanted to say at the Game Awards. And he did like an 18-tweet thread where he was like, here's the whole speech. And it was like beautiful. And it was like really great to read and like inspiring and sad. You know, there were the parts where he talks about like the layoffs and like the people who he worked with at Dungeons and Dragons and Magic who like aren't there anymore. And it was just like a really important speech. And the thing that drives me nuts about the Game Awards is like those moments build award shows. Like when the Oscars happen every year, the thing that goes viral is like speeches, right? It's always like, whoa,
or when Will Smith like slaps someone.
Or Will Smith slapping someone, which someone should slap Jeff. That would be a fun moment.
Someone should slap someone at the Game Awards. Yeah, but like Chris Judge, like there was a whole joke about Chris Judge's speech being like the moment from last year.
Well, previous to that, it was the slap of the video game industry when Joseph Fares said, the Oscars at the Game Awards. That was great.
Like all of the moments
wins the next year.
The most iconic moments from the video game awards so far have been people talking because
that's true.
It was fuck the Oscars. It was the Chris Judge speech, and this year it was like the guy doing that EA Originals project. I don't remember the name of it off.
Flute guy.
And Flute guy, but like the guy who gave the speech, the guy who gave the speech this year that was like, I'm making a game about my father passed away, and like I'm making this game, and that was like the most memorable moment of the show.
It like the emotion coming through, and it's such a shame because we can have moments like that. And someone put out a good tweet that was talked about the Herald of Darkness performance, which I mean, come on,
that was awesome.
Great. I've been listening to it on repeat now that it's on Apple Music and all these things. But someone
I've got
tweeted out
my vinyl coming next month.
Oh, you ordered one? I'm considering
it's gold, dude. It looks fucking sick.
Someone tweeted out they were like the Herald of Darkness performance at the Game Awards proves that you can have moments of spectacle without them feeling cheap and without them feeling like an advertisement. And so
it wasn't like when Imagine Dragons played.
Well, I mean, they had that Arcane thing and all that jazz. But I mean, the other thing, and again, this is like no fucking. This is just how these things go. Why is like best adaptation getting a full thing? Because Neil Druckmann is gonna win the award, and now he's a big fucking like TV.
Well,
producer.
it's that, and this year had. I mean, in the last couple of years, we've finally had video game adaptations that made TV shows and movies that were good, right? Like this year, Mario was one of the biggest movies of the year. It's one of the fastest, like highest selling animated movies of all time. And then The Last of that. I mean, that's a big deal for. I mean,
even
Nintendo's going to make a live action Zelda, which like I don't think we need, but that wouldn't have happened. Before Nintendo
Mario,
wouldn't enter that market if it wasn't ready.
Yeah.
I agree.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think the reality of all this is like more cold and clinical, unfortunately. We're like,
Yeah.
we're sitting around and we're kind of like, oh, obviously do this. The reality is Jeff doesn't care about any of this because Jeff
Yes.
is making bank. I learned this at
Oh,
the Game
I'll tell
Awards.
you this. I'll
I
tell
was
you right
talking.
now. I'll tell you right now. You're
Yeah.
right. The money's important. But so when I
Yeah.
worked with him, producers E3
Oh,
show,
sure.
he
Yeah.
cares so much about
Oh, I'm
every
sure he does. Yes.
gate.
Yes.
Like the segments that I was in charge of in the games and stuff. Like he wanted me to like give him like reports on like every game and like let him know all of the and like he wanted to make sure everything was
Undoubtedly.
presented. So like he definitely cares about the game side.
Yeah, no, and I don't mean to disparage him. I think he does a great job
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
industry, like whatever. But the thing I learned at the Game Awards that put a lot of it into perspective for me is like I was talking to someone and they were like who had games on the show, like whatever, and
Yeah.
they get like their packet of how much things cost, and they were like, we'll play this as a game. How much do you think it costs to get your game on the show, a trailer for it on the screen, and to have Jeff say, and here's the game and say the name of it and toss to it. Not just like a trailer in the middle of a bunch of them. How much do you think it costs to do that?
I think
Anyone have
isn't it like
guesses?
80K?
Great
I was
guess.
gonna say
Anyone else?
50K.
I think I think it depends on who you are because something tells me
That's
that someone like Kojima is like, hey, I'm gonna come and show off a brand new game, and Jeff was like, please do that for me. Like like there's some people who
Please bring Jordan
got in
Peele.
there for nothing. I think.
I was told, again, by somebody who did have a game on this show, that the
Yeah.
cost of that is
Yeah.
$950,000 at now
Wow.
because of how many eyes are on the show. Because there were like what 118 million people who were watching it
Right.
now.
I mean, it was the Super Bowl for video games
Yes.
more than it was anything.
Yes, and I think even like just getting your trailer and not having Jeff toss to it is like 600,000, 500,000. I think they
Wow.
were saying.
Wow.
So like he's making, I mean, like a
lot of
billion,
money.
like more than $1 billion off
Yeah.
this show, which goes towards renting the Peacock Theater, which goes towards booking Timothy Chalamet, which is not something they have to do, but they did do it anyways.
Yeah.
So like at the end of the day, it's like they're making a shitload of money, and he cares, and he really cares about it. And I think next year he'll make changes to the show to show that
Yeah.
he is acting
no,
in
he
good
listens
faith.
to critiques for sure.
Yeah, the speeches will be longer next year. Like
Yeah,
there's
he
no
definitely-
doubt.
He definitely
Um,
has. I mean, he definitely cares about the industry and all of these games. But it's one of those things where it's like he's a businessman first.
He's a
and
businessman,
foremost.
yes.
And like when you're a businessman, you can't have like the Game Awards the viewership can never drop, right? Like
Yes.
every year has to be bigger, and there have to be more things shown and all of this. And so it's more of it's again another kind of awful side effect of the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
Like this is an industry problem. If it wasn't the
Yes.
Game Awards and it wasn't Jeff, it'd be something else. And this was the year I think that we had a real reckoning with the gaming industry from multiple angles, primarily the layoffs. And because of that, this year in particular felt like such a come to Jesus moment with all of this and the Game Awards. So it's one of those things where it's like when people are hating on it and have criticisms and I think it fluctuates between like legitimate criticisms to just like being a hater or whatever.
Yeah.
But it is ultimately at the end of the day, it's like, well, this is the world we live in, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
No,
anyway.
and that's why I say like there's a cold and clinical aspect to it because it's like, of course there is. It's like, of course there's gonna be a business and like he has X amount of eyes on the show, so like he's gonna put X amount of trailers and then they have to pay for X amount of things, so like you have to load the show up with trailers. Like it all makes sense. I hope that next year he kind of realizes like, hey, maybe there's things we can cut back on from the spectacle aspect of it so that we don't have to buy as many get as many trailers, and then we can have more and we can balance the budget a little bit by focusing the show a little bit more. I'm hoping that's where he lands because again, he does care. There's no doubt. But I think that like the last 2 years he's gotten too wrapped up in the like business of it and the like oh, it has to be big and it has to have trailers,
But
and it has to pull people in.
It's a self-feeding solution though,
Mhm.
because like he wants to get as many eyes onto the Game Awards and about the video games industry as possible, and the way to do that is these trailers, right? Because people are showing up there are so many people showing up just to see what video games get announced, which I kind of care about more than anything, because the rest of it's subjective. Like none of these awards are getting me to go play games that I haven't played at this point.
But would your life change in any significant way, or your feeling for the show change in any significant way, if you hadn't seen the trailers for Mecha Break or
No, of course not.
all these games that he fills it with, right? No. Yeah, and that's my thing. It's like, just take out 10 of those trailers. Like, and I know that they're your friends. Like, he has PR friends who I think he's doing favors for a lot of the time. I know that he has games he just likes to work with. He like the finals.
And
has
you
been
want
on,
to
like,
get
every
eyes on
stream.
some smaller things too, right? You know, like you want to give that opportunity to people, even if it is just a money thing and not a quality thing, because it's hard to gauge that. But
I think that is my other thing with, you know, when people talk about that is like my devil's advocate element to it, when people talk about like they seem to paint like a very broad brush against like having trailers shown and being like, I mean, no doubt there was so much that took away from like the celebration of the people that were making the games that won the awards. But, you know, for example, that guy that came on that voiced Basim, who had his game about his dad, like it was really awesome to get to see that, because like the game looks fucking great. It's not just like, oh, this is an emotional story. I'm like, wow, like you've made what looks like, you know, next year seems to be like the Prince of, you know, we've got Prince of Persia, we've got all these great like 2D side-scrolling like action games, Metroidvania games. It's great to have moments like that. And, you know, you start thinking like, even on the big games, and like there's still so many developers who are out there and excited. You know, a lot of people say like, oh, people don't care about the Game Awards. I'm like, well, the people who are winning the awards, I think, care about winning those awards and like are happy to like win them. Like Sam Lake was getting really fucking, I could feel like how emotional he was getting over those. And when you think about everything it took for them to get to this point of making this absolutely phenomenal Alan Wake game.
Second best game of the year, following Walkabout Mini Golf.
Maybe first. And then to get you know, all the developers that have worked on these games that are finally showing off and getting put into the world in front of millions of people, like there's emotion behind that. And so it's like there's a baby bathwater situation here that that needs to be, you know, considered.
I'll say one last thing, just because we're coming up on time. And like honestly, we're spending way too much time talking about the Game Awards. But there's one problem to all of this, and I think it's part of the reason that the speech time is short. A lot of the general audience doesn't give a shit who the developer is, like who these people are, right? A lot of the general audience does not know. And a lot of the people that might be going up to the awards might not be the person that should be accepting the award, because like they're sending someone who's maybe going to be better on camera. Or the people that like are going to go accept awards maybe aren't great like on camera and with public speak, because like they're game developers, right? Like it's not like necessarily a stereotype. Not all game developers are going to be like introverted and awkward, but there are a lot of people that work in games that aren't there to be a public facing thing, right? It's not the entertainment industry in the same way. It's not the Oscars.
Yeah, they're not actors.
So it's hard to, you know, circle that square.
The only thing I'll say to that though is like, Jeff, I've talked to him before about the Game Awards, and you know, he's lovely to talk to about it, because he really thinks about it a lot. But the thing that he said to me last year that like just it kills me is that he's like, this is a show for the fans. It's a show for the fans.
Yes.
And
People's
it's
Choice
like,
Award then. Let the fans pick it.
Because it's like, if you're an award show, that's explicitly the one night that's not supposed to be for the fans. I'm sorry. It's everything in gaming is constantly for the fans, and we never have something that's for the creators. And if you are giving out statues to creators, like, I don't care if the fans are bored by like the Resident Evil devs going up and not being mic trained. It's like, you should feel honored that you got to see Sam Lake, one of the greatest creative minds in our freaking industry right now. You should feel honored that you get to see this guy go up and give a 5-minute speech, you know? And like, I get that it doesn't draw eyes and it doesn't draw money, and that's fine. But like, at some point, then the show can't be an award show. Like, that's it.
Especially, by the way,
can't be an award show.
If it's for fans and he's talking about it that way, it's like, that's like the same way people talk about like sports. And it's like, well, yeah, but like, so then you know who shouldn't be picking the winner? the people that fans hate, which is gaming journalists, because you know what,
Yeah.
you know what fucking video gamers hate? They fucking hate like gaming journalists who say anything critical about their games.
I
There's,
was on
know-
the jury for Game Awards as part of Digital Trends, and I will tell you, I think the jury process is not very good for that show. I will say that with self-reflection. There are a lot of problems with it. Just do a fan vote
people
and call
show
it the
yeah,
Fans' Choice
just do
Awards. Yeah.
I like it.
All right. I think we're at time.
You hear
Tom,
that,
you said
Jeff?
you had like a game.
Yeah,
You hear
very
that,
quick.
Jeff.
Let's do it in the post show.
Very quick. Okay, I like that.
Let's because next week we got Tom. Are you gonna have your asks ready for next week? You think is that a possibility or no?
Oh yes, we can make that happen.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna do Ask Master next week. Alex may or may not have started Alan Wake by then. We'll see. Yeah, and hopefully Giovanni will be playing Walkabout mini golf at that point, and then he's gonna have to revise.
I'm gonna jump on it.
Yes,
Jump on it.
dude. Yes.
Yeah. So. Giovanni, we can't wait to have you back again. It was far too long. We'll have to make sure that it doesn't take this long once again. But until next time, everybody, stay unranked.
Tom?
Suck it, Gio.
Wow.
What?